Scooter Schilling with us. We got Barry with us, and we've got John Horton with us. Barry Selby, sorry, give you your full name, give you everything. You got your own QR code on the screen. We don't have to talk about you. We're good. But as always, just such a pleasure to have everybody here. And Lynn, how you doing? Oh, and Theodora's tuned in.
She's watching.
Theodora. Hi,
We miss you, Theodora. We miss you. We miss your good humor and your great presence. But all right,
her
is
voice
this
has
a
changed.
person?
That was Lynn.
That was okay. All right. So anyway, we're going to jump right in. We got a lot of people here, and there's so much we could be talking about tonight. We're going to be talking about, going to have a little fun with then and now, and certainly it's funny because I was talking to my business partner the other day about just how much we realized that this little device here holds more information that back when I had entered grade school could fit in a building. A building couldn't hold this much data. And now it's all right here. And I think one of the things is there's been so many changes especially in the last like 30 years. We've lost the ability to even be in awe of it sometimes. I think it's just, it no longer is. I think it's almost like, well, sure, why can't we have floating skateboards now? And why aren't cars flying in the sky? And we're impatient. We're no longer in awe. And unfortunately, we've lost a little bit of our, I want to say human skills, maybe a touch of humanity in all of the technology. I was mentioning that I do a lot of writing for courses and articles and different things that I do. And a lot of people are turning in now AI work. It's not even their work anymore. They just put a few facts in and lets a computer write it for them. There's actors that are losing jobs to AI work. There's screenwriters that are losing jobs to AI. So there's a lot of things going on out there. And I know we can't put the genie back in the bottle, but I just love to know what everybody thinks about it. And, I can still remember the day standing in front of the microwave being shocked at how fast I could have popcorn made. I remember that day, but I don't remember the day when I was FaceTiming on my phone and it was like the Jetsons were here and I didn't even realize it. I didn't even think about it. So whatever you guys think about it, it's a little bit of then and now. What you guys think? Are we heading in the right direction a bit? We're going to go there anyway. So whatever you guys think. And God bless you all for being here. Love you guys. So who wants to start us off? Okay, that's it for the show tonight. Thanks, everybody.
I'll make a statement and a question, and that was you went from popping the kernels in oil on the stove to Jiffy Pop to a microwave.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a step in between. And while, like, I haven't used a microwave in 30 years or something like that, because I don't want to microwave my food. But, there's always been a trade-off. For example, microwave popcorn, there's Teflon in the bag. So, not only do you get the Teflon in your body from using Teflon-coated, utensils and everything else, but you get it from your microwave popcorn. So with a lot of innovation, I mean, look at, go back and look at beach photos of the 70s, the 30s, the 50s, the 80s, and there were hardly any obese people on the beach. And now you take a beach photo and there's hardly any slim people on the beach. That's the price we paid for some of the changes we've had in our food industry that have made it convenient or that have made it long-standing shelf life, kind of stuff. So with every advent of new innovation, there is a cost or a price, maybe. And we ought to assess the cost to human life and your children and your pet life and things like that when we have changes. It's great that, AI can write something really fast, but does it displace a human? Like these checkouts in the supermarkets that displace humans, and they go, well, we'll find other jobs for them. But in the meantime, what are we doing?
Right.
Or look at Dollar Store. They have one person who runs the entire store, maybe two at most, if you're lucky, and that's so that they can save money and make, their billions of dollars profits, but the stores go to hell and the person's overworked. So there's something about speed, efficiency, and all that I'm all for. But I do not want flying cars. We got enough trouble with cars on the road. Who wants them dropping off?
Yeah, you'd be walking around going like this.
I don't want a ton of shit flying over my head that I have. I mean, there's enough to worry about with the birds,
Well, and packages, they want packages going like that too.
Yeah, drones flying all over your neighborhood, dropping stuff from Amazon. No, thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
I still want a Rosie. I want her.
But, John,
Would be nice. I agree with you there.
but Rex, I got to ask you, your connection to Hollywood and understanding how things work there. I mean, that's becoming a real issue with people actually being replaced, extras and other people. I mean, this is an issue, and they're almost like fighting for their rights to continue to work.
Well, they did during strike.
Well, and they did. They had a strike, but a friend of mine is George Carlin's daughter, Kelly, and she's now sued because they AI George, and she's like, So there's a point that, it's like anything. I mean, if you create something, you can go look at my stuff on the internet and find, people selling my stuff, my copyrighted material, my, intellectual property at all sorts of prices, or giving it away because they go, well, it's information, blah, 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 whatever the reason. I get it. That's just something we've dealt with, and before there was the internet, we dealt with, direct mail theft and stuff. But this is something that can be so proliferated and you capture stuff and put it out there so quickly that people don't even have a prayer of trying to address it. So, when I say my stuff, I mean everybody's stuff is out there.
Yeah.
It's not just my stuff. I'm sure Barry, Scott, and Sandy, and you guys. The theft or the wholesale just farming of information as if it belongs to everybody because it can be digitized. In the old days, they at least had to take an audio tape or something and convert it, or they had to scan something in and convert it, or nowadays it's just like, oh. So that's that's not AI. You know what I mean? In other words, if they can do that with it, Bruce Willis, licensed himself to be used in AI because of his aphasia, because of whatever his disability is. So he wants to leave a legacy of his kids so they can create stuff using him. So, there's, a benevolent use perhaps that somebody's decided that they would like to do that. Okay. The technology is there. It's the other stuff where they just try and use your likeness in perpetuity, which they wanted with the writers or the actors. That is where
It's cloning gone wrong.
well, that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've been working with the AI images because I do graphics, and they just can't get the eyes right and the hands right, and there's a lot of problems with it. I've had to manipulate, so it's not as easy as that. But it's absolutely impacting my type of business, web design, social media marketing, all of that. Everybody's on this AI train now. I just got offered $2,000 for a 10-week class at University of Virginia, to do digital marketing courses to get, certified. So now we're into certification for it. It's like, oh my goodness, here we go. So there's a cost to all of it. And then once you have it and everybody has it, then what? Who's innovative? Where's the innovation? But AI is becoming the buzz thing. And I agree with you, Scott. I don't like that. I've asked it to write text for me, and I don't really like it. So I have to go back to my original. I like how it corrects my sentence structure, but that's about it.
I want to add to that.
Yeah.
Because, there's something to be said for convenience and replication and all that kind of stuff. I write a daily blog. I've written it every day for, I don't know, however many, 10 years, 11 years, 12 years, something like that. Sometimes I write 4 or 5 blogs, 10 blogs, 20 blogs in advance, depending on where I'm going to be and things like that. But I write it. And it's in my voice, and I curate it. It's me sitting there going, here's the point I want to make. And then somebody will say, well, what about this? And I go, well, I can't make every point in a 4 or 5 or 10 paragraph blog. You can't exhaust the topic. So there'll be maybe other blogs where we do that, but it's all me. I know what I'm saying. I know when I'm saying. Right. I don't want something to be replicating my thoughts and being my secret ghostwriter. I don't ghostwrite books. I'm not interested in ghostwriter. Other people may. I just like if I'm going to put something out, I want it to be my stamp of approval on it.
Yes.
Without it being, I don't want to worry about something. And whenever I've read AI stuff, I'm not just that impressed with it. It sounds like a sanitized version of something. It's like if you took,
robot.
No, but I mean, think about some of our most prolific. I don't want to say dirty writers, but you know what I mean. Certain writers have a very ascorbic, they're very acidic edge, a certain view. Maybe they're crass, that kind of, and the cloning of that might get to be where it's almost as good, so you can't tell a fake from the real.
Yeah.
But why would you want that? Why, you know what I'm saying? The person was a once in a lifetime person. Why do you want to clone them forever? And then have something generated off. I mean,
AI has gotten that far that it does, if you feed it to the tonality, it can mimic a person's writing. It's gotten to that point already, Rex, where it can take people's stuff and mimic them and
not very well though. I mean,
it's
pretty good, but not. I mean, it's still, there's something missing.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. Like any other muscle, creativity is almost like a muscle of the mind. And if you fail to exercise it, if you become dependent on something else long enough, that will wither and it will become dormant or at least stagnant. We saw it during COVID. People were closed off from each other. And everybody, when COVID was over, everybody just run outside and hug each other. There's places where it didn't go back to normal. People aren't going back to some places. So, and unfortunately, with this kind of
wearing masks,
and with this kind of writing
in their car with their windows rolled up, wearing a mask. I mean, I'm all for mask wearing. I have no problem, but I don't get it when like I could be wearing a mask in my house.
I like the old days when only bank robbers wore masks. What do you think, Barry?
Well, leading, thank you.
Yeah, how many banks have you robbed?
Speaking of, hi Barry.
With or without a mask.
In the old days,
let's say hi to John, the mortgage guy. No, just kidding.
Barry, it's all you. After that lead-in, man, it's all you. I am not taking any part of this.
See, one thing is in the old days, they didn't have such good cameras to catch you when you're robbing banks. Anyway, getting back on the track. A couple of things, we said then and now. What flashed in my mind because of the things I've been through in my own life was just remember back to, and I've said this before in other conversations with friends, back in the old days. For some of us who grew up those things, we had phones that were attached to the wall. Yeah, you can walk around free with them. And then when we got the first indoor cordless phone that had a big antenna on top of it, it's like things have changed so much technology-wise. Well, we now have a thing that's this small, more powerful than the space shuttle. There's a recognition is that technology moves fast. Same is true with televisions. Same is true with monitors. Same as computers. All these things change. And the thing I'm aware of, and what I was thinking about when talking about AI as one of the pieces, not the only thing, but one of the pieces of evolution, is that in most cases, technology, like a hammer, can be used to construct or destruct. And the thing is that everything that's in technology is a tool that is basically neutral. It doesn't have a predilection to do anything except what we do with it. And so the thing I talk about with technology and anything that's going along is that it's our morality and our internal guidance that will basically add or subtract from the experience we're using that tool. Cars are wonderful things. The new cars, I'll say one thing, the cars right now, there's so many safety systems being put on the cars that it's almost like you become a passenger as the driver. That I'm not sure is a good thing personally, but that's maybe something that's being put forward as a way to keep us safe when we go out and run about. Airplanes have autopilot, same idea. Those things are meant to be in a way they fly so that they're done smartly without us making a mistake along the way because human error. So my thought is, and this is because of my sci-fi addiction, is that I feel like we're in the teenage years. That where we're going, perhaps, is like it is in Star Trek. The philosophy from that point of view is that we don't have to work because currency becomes no longer needed because we've evolved to a point in society where everything's taken care of because we have automation, we have the equivalent of machines that will build things for us because we have 3D printers. So eventually we won't actually need to keep struggling through life and fighting for jobs and everything else.
No, this is now.
They're coming to
right
get
now.
you. They're coming to get you. What'd you do?
This may be
You're
the
giving up secrets, Barry, and
bank
you're
robber.
getting in trouble for
Yeah,
telling.
we knew it.
No,
Bank
no,
robber.
no. It's that
this
bank
is the
thing.
first time it isn't
Not
me.
made the bank.
It isn't me.
comment.
The first time.
Well, the funny thing is, I live in a very quiet street, so I think police cars going by all the time, like on the main street out the way. That was right outside the house. I'm like, that was interesting. Anyway, so
They're coming to get you, Barry.
Suddenly there's a knock at your door.
I'll let you know. No, but the thing is, though, for me, is that that's the key. Is that if we keep thinking we're stuck where we are now and everything's right, wrong, bad, good, bad, what about where it's going? And again,
Well,
like in Star Trek, the whole point is about the inclusivity, where everyone has freedom to be what they want to be. Yes, there can be a downside to that. People get left out or don't want to participate. But what if we get to a point where what we're doing in our society is much cleaner and much healthier and much happier because we're taking away all those laborious things by technology?
Do
So,
we have to wear the cat suits? Don't want to wear the cat suit. Just saying. Not
That'll
at
be
my
different
age.
looking people at the beach, that's for sure.
No, I just want to add to what you said because I'm all for not working. I mean, in other words, no. I mean, we weren't born to work. I mean, there's nothing historically that said we came on this planet so that we could work and pay taxes and pay
Right.
for medical care. I mean, there's just that's human fiction. So if AI assists so that nobody ever had to work and everybody was abundantly wealthy and everyone could do good and have fun and live and thrive like in the Garden of Eden and have hobbies and stuff, I'm all for that. But my guess is that would never be the case. That somebody will have all the money and there'll still be a slave class or whatever you want to call it. It just isn't gonna go out the way it could go out. So if it has control, I mean, if there are benevolent people who looked at it like what you said and said, hey, you know, there's a lot of good stuff coming down the road. If we could steer that way, I'm all for it. But I suspect that in the same way that a hammer is neutral, the person using it isn't.
Absolutely.
But unfortunately,
the mortgage guy. Tell that to the mortgage guy.
the evolution of technology, though, has far exceeded the evolution of mankind's emotional intelligence and ability to be less fearful, less hateful, less all of those things. So our technology is growing faster than the human condition can ever evolve. John,
Right.
Yes.
say something,
See, John,
brother.
you won't have to worry about mortgages anymore.
Do you decide on different lighting every time you join us? Every time you join, it's like something different is going on.
I have no idea. I swear to God.
I think that's a
this
spaceship
Barry,
light in the back there.
He leaves it to his AI component.
I don't know what the
Wait.
fuck
He's got
is
some
going
beaming
on.
back there.
One day,
Come to think of it, we've never
Light.
seen your wife. What's her name? Siri?
so, here.
Go ahead, John.
What was my question? I got lights. Things happening. I have no idea. Anyway, my point is, because I didn't take notes, it's what we do, man. It's what we do. You got to go back to the basics. As far as the AI goes, as far as this goes, honestly, I go back to basics, back to basic sales, man. There's so many people in different demographics that need to hear a phone call, that need to pick up the phone. And there's some that don't. But I don't get this shit, man. I just don't. I don't understand it. I think it's way too crazy. I think the protection of people with what they do, no matter what their business line is, they need to pick up the phone and know the person they're talking to is real. Honestly. I mean, it's really basic sales. It's basic conversation. What Lynn and Scott, what you guys do here every week, I think is amazing because the conversations I've had from people is like, man, that's normal. That's really normal. Let's get away from what we're doing and let's just have a conversation on the phone. Granted, you're going to have everything else going on, but to be able to verify someone is real and pick up the phone, come on. It's not that tough. I know I got to work on my lights. One day, I'm going to be on this shit, and I'm going to be brighter than Barry. I swear to God. My goal is to be brighter than Barry.
Bring it.
You need all you need is the power of the pineapple, my friend. All you need is the power.
We appreciate, love you, John. Your
Scott,
smile
you gotta be
brightens up
chomping
the
at the
room.
bit on this one, brother.
Well, I think it's interesting. The reality is people take the path of least resistance, and they've done that our entire existence.
Yeah.
But when the resistance keeps on going lower and lower and lower, unfortunately, so does the brain power and the morals and the everything else of the people. And I think the biggest for me, AI is AI. It's a pain in the butt in a lot of ways. It's great in a lot of ways. Okay. It's inevitable because there are people pushing it. It's going to happen. But I mean, I think the biggest thing between then and now is noticing the difference in sensibilities of people. People used to be courteous.
Yes.
They used to be nice. They used to be friendly. Now they're skittish. They're afraid. There's so much fear mongering and bullshit put into the marketplace to scare the living bejesus out of people.
Mhm.
And I, been around for a while. I don't remember that growing up. I don't remember that going through. You used to, my mom, you'd fall off a jungle gym and mom would say, rub some dirt on it, spit, wipe it off and get back on it. It wasn't hell, I broke my nose in a football game. She goes, yeah, get back in there. What are you doing? I'm like, it hurts. You'll get over it. I mean, it's a different time. We used to have, I remember, this is so crazy. It just popped in my head. I remember when I went off to college, I bought the book Miss Manners because I actually wanted to learn better manners.
Mhm.
And the fact somebody goes, there was a book, Miss Manners. Yeah. I mean, we actually did.
Yeah.
We were working to be pleasant to each other and all this. And it's gotten so crazy, whether everybody thinks they deserve something that they haven't earned. Everybody thinks that, I mean, it would be wonderful if we didn't work. I don't think anybody would argue that, but that's never happened. If you were a caveman, you had to beat the shit out of something to create a cave. I mean, you really did.
That's not a job. That's you doing
Well,
something to do something.
Well, but I'm saying there was effort expended.
There will always be
Yeah.
effort.
Yeah, there's always been effort expended to make the human
Better.
the human interaction and the human everything better. So to sit and go, yeah, wouldn't it be wonderful if we have no money, everything's the same? Ain't going to happen in our lifetime.
That's not what I said. Though.
I mean, that's not going to happen. And so, unfortunately, in the transitional periods, there are going to be a lot of people displaced and whatever. Walmart doesn't have cashiers anymore. Now they just have the exact same number of people watching to see if you're stealing things. I mean, they didn't really, they changed the role and they lessened the thought process. I'm not saying that they're dumber, I'm not saying it that way, but they lessened what they had to do in their role, to watch things. And so it's, I love watching throughout the day. Every once in a while, I'll just find a YouTube video of somebody serving somebody. There was I watched one today. Guy was standing in the middle of Home Depot, and as people walked by, he started a Bible verse, and he said, if you can finish this Bible verse, I'll give you $100. And he had $100 bill there. And the first 6 people came by, either, no, I'm not interested, or, we're really gruff and whatever. And like the last guy comes up and he goes, well, yeah. And he finished it. And the guy says, here's your $100 bill. He goes, I really appreciate that. Why don't you give it to somebody who really needs it? And he gave it back. There's something, and again, that's not a religious statement per se, but it's a faith-based statement. I don't believe Barry and I are the same religion, but we both have a similar faith base, right? We have
Right.
something bigger, higher source. And I think that's been a big change. And, people not understanding that we're all on this planet together. How do we help each other out and not be jerks to each other? It just doesn't make sense. Now, that doesn't mean there always haven't been jerks. I think we can look at Jekyll Island and we can figure out there was a few families of jerks, that kind of started a ball rolling that most people haven't seen. The only advantage I think we have today is we have technology, so
Exactly.
that the jerks get seen faster.
Well, you can go to Cain and Abel.
Well, that's what I'm saying. This stuff has been going on,
That's
but
right.
it hasn't been as I just
And I love Mo Rock.
my daughter
Hi,
for
Mo.
Christmas got me a book or got me a thing that says I want you to write your life for me. And so every 6 days this thing sends me a question and it's asking me about my life. And so at the end of a year, they'll put it all together and they will write the book of my life for my daughter.
Oh,
Wow.
that's neat.
But what's cool is I had to call my sister, like, who was there when you were born?
Mm.
And she and it brought her such joy. She's 11 years older. She goes, well, Dad was with Mom at the hospital, but we were with Grandma and we were just waiting for you to get home. I'm like, what? So you start to relive those things,
Right.
the then and the nows, and boy, it'd be nice to get back to some of those things.
Well, I think we've kind of devalued some of that, where we've sacrificed, and it's not. You know what? I almost think that it's not the technology as much as the access to information and the access to disseminate false information is so easy that with a simple tweet on some social media, I can make somebody across the planet think something that could be actively deceiving them, or people can read 2 sentences and think they figured out the secrets to the world. I don't think we have the same kind of value of information that we used to have. That, let me go down the street and talk to Tom, and let me go talk to Billy, and let me go talk, and all this stuff. And now it's just like everything's put out there. I mean, talk about streets. I got a lot of families in my neighborhood, but it's once in a great while I see kids out playing in the street.
Right.
I mean, and that started with my kids when video games came along, and now not only can you sit and play a video game and isolate, you can play a video game with people across the planet that you're never ever going to meet. And so there's no value in that friendship and that relationship. We're not building anything. I hate to sound like an old miserable son of a bitch, but geez, I mean, I miss all those things that I remember when I was a kid, and I think my kids, and more importantly my grandkids, they're never going to experience that stuff. Oh, great, yeah. So they got their little toys that fly around the room, and they got drones, and they got this, but they don't have playing tag in the backyard with a bunch of friends and doing army with sticks, and pretending
kick the can in the middle of the street.
Kick the can, throwing the
Okay.
ball, the tennis ball, over the roof of the house, trying to catch it on the other side. They don't do that shit anymore.
No Red Rover.
No, Red Rover. Yeah.
But here's the thing. I'm going to pick on Scooter here for just a second. He said, well, it's not going to happen in our lifetime. And I go, with that attitude, it won't. And I don't mean just you. It's true for all of us. When we sit here and go, the days were good when people were nice, but they aren't that way anymore, we're not helping the days be better. We're focusing.
No, I'm not saying that, Rex.
No, I know.
I work diligently.
Wait, Rex, are you suggesting I go help these assholes?
No, no. What I'm getting at, and I picked on you, Scott, because you made the comment, but I know that's not how you live your life. But what I'm saying is that is a prevailing attitude for a lot of people.
Right.
That we'll never see it. It can never change. We're in the mire, and that's the way it's always going to be, and it's only gone downhill. And as long as people put that energy out, it's never going to change. As long as we long for the good old days, but don't do anything to make those good old days our present days and our
Indeed.
future.
And
Yeah.
no, I totally agree with that. But that is, I think that's where holding the knowledge within our own head and doing that and not relying on portable knowledge and doing that. And I think that's where I was going with people take the path of least resistance. It's easy to have this until there's no service or the battery runs out.
It is. I agree with you. But let me also say this. By the way, one of the things that I hate about the fractionation of our society and the a la carte selections of your media and that kind of thing, where you could get is for example, have you seen the new episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm, the pilot episode the other night for the final season? Larry
No.
David. First 3 minutes, I would say, is a universal. He's talking to his iPhone, his cell phone kind of thing, and I thought, well, only I do that, but apparently all sorts of people do that. But the point I'm making is that the technology that we use that benefits us, that gets us to places and has our calendar, also gets us frustrated. It doesn't work. We have to scroll. We have to, our voice correction text is always wrong. And so we're sitting there going, I didn't say that, idiot. We're arguing with technology instead of with people. And then we argue with people using the technology.
Yeah.
I mean, we're becoming angry and frustrated and incapable of doing so many things like smiling and loving and hugging and talking and creating a better world, because we're so busy fighting or going, I'm going to make a point to that asshole on Facebook.
Well, it's really interesting. I was at an event last weekend, and I was one of my mentor's sons was there, and I was just telling him how I said my career, my life would not be where it is today without his dad. And I said I love the man. He's done so much for me. And I said I talked to him a while ago, and it was just so good. I hadn't talked to him in years. And he said, when did you talk to him last? And I said, I think it was middle of November. He said, middle of December, my mom died, just short of their 56th anniversary. He's destroyed. And I went, oh my God. And I went immediately to send a text. And I stopped. And I waited 3 days until I had the time to get him on the phone.
Oh, yes.
And it was amazing, even in the grief and in the whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, same thing. I jumped into it. Boy, I was going to be immediate. I was no. I'm going to talk to the man. And we had an amazing conversation, and it was awesome.
Scott, that's brilliant. And I know that that's important. And I want to take Rex, you kind of kicked us off in this direction. I want to keep it going in this direction for the second half, which is we're all of a similar generation, with the exception of Lynn and Sandy, who are both in their early 30s. And,
Yes, definitely.
if you laugh, the shit doesn't work. Let me just get away with it once in a while. Rex, you said it, we can't give up. If we just throw our hands up and say, that's just the way it is, then I guess we got to accept it because we've given up. So, but we're coming into this point where we're going to be some of the last people that remember before the technology came along.
Right.
Do we have a responsibility to share some of those things? Or, not to sit and preach to people, but maybe to find a way to integrate some of those things that we found important to keep them alive. Do we have a responsibility to do that? And can we somehow marry the new stuff and our old stuff at the same time? Anybody?
Yeah, I agree.
I don't
Sandy.
think
Go ahead, Sandy.
Okay.
Go ahead, Sandy.
Okay. So as you were talking about that, I was thinking about, I was in Charleston for Hurricane Hugo, and we didn't have cell phones then. So, and I had half a tank of gas. Yeah, 1989 in Charleston. And I had a half a tank of gas, and I had to pray that I got to the gas station down 95, because at Charleston, the banks weren't working. I had no money. There was all kinds of things. Technology affected me then, and I think about that. And but I wasn't worried. I didn't have a thing of fear. I was just like, oh, well, this is an adventure. This is what we do. And I feel like technology does produce, like I think one of you said about fear. I mean, it's actually producing fear versus the opposite. I mean, I'll leave my cell phone home every once in a while, like, oh, I forgot my cell phone. And I just keep going on and go to the store and I do the things. Whereas other people panic. They're like panicked because they left this thing at home. They're like, oh my goodness, I left it. And I feel like this is a handicap sometimes. I just feel like we spend too much time. I came in the other day and my kids were here and I walked in and all their faces were down like this. They were like, da, 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 and they were all in the same room. And my one son lives, away. And I was thinking, they're not interacting. What is wrong with them? And then on the other day on a show, I was talking about it. I don't even know 5 neighbors of mine's name. I don't. And I'm a friendly person, but nobody comes out of their houses like you were talking about. Nobody's playing on the street. I don't know I have 500 contacts in here, but I don't know my neighbors or have their phone number. You know what I mean? So if an emergency were actually to happen, so this is what has happened. It really does derail our relationships and our interactions with one another. And it just astounds me. The kids are just like, oh, they're just so insular now. I can't stand it. And my kids are in their 30s. So
if I can interject or say, back when we were a little bit younger, we used to remember everybody's phone number. Okay. Right. So now, because of the phones, what, terrifies me is that, shoot, I am fine if I leave the phone and I don't have the phone. But the thing is, the realization is, do I know my kid's number so that I could borrow someone's phone to call my kids? No, I would be SOL.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's the point of remembering that we have lacked the skill to remember what we need to on our own, because we're letting a tool do the work. We don't have the backup system.
The boomer generation was the last generation that was taught to hold knowledge.
Yeah.
We were taught to study, read, absorb,
or write it in a piece of paper or something. The backup system.
Yeah, but I mean, my point is, we were trained to hold knowledge, and it slid. The next generation and then millennials were absolutely trained not to hold. I mean, it went. Gen X in between is kind of part of that, but millennials were the first generation that were taught not to hold information, to find information. They were taught where to find it. And I truly believe that boomers, because, and again, it's not everybody, but it's the last generation to be taught to hold it.
Yeah.
And so when I work with Gen X and millennials and Gen Z, I encourage them. I know it's wonderful to know where the information is. Please learn critical thinking and learn the ability to hold the critical things up here. Because just in that exact instance, if you don't have your phone, they don't, because there's and it's not, I mean, unfortunately, somebody made the decision to start teaching them that way. That you don't need to know anything, you just need to know where to find it.
Well, that's what
that's wonderful until you lose the tool that allows you to find it.
Well, that's what Henry Ford said. I mean, that goes back to Henry Ford saying, I got a row of buttons. I don't need to keep all these figures in my head. I just press the right button and the person goes. There's something to be said for that too.
Yes.
But the other side.
The other thing is
concert begins.
Sounds like a ball.
Something that Sandy was saying, when phones were attached to the walls or there were pay phones, I went all over the world, never thought a thing about it, and I walked around at times with not a dime in my, not a nickel in my pocket. And I didn't worry about things because I figured I could always go to somebody and say, hey, could you make a call or go to, somewhere. And in the old days, if your car broke down on the side of the road, some CB trucker would radio it to the cops. The next thing you know, the cops would be there. Nowadays, I fear that people go, well, they'll call it in. They got a cell phone, and so nobody bothers to call for the person sitting on the side of the road. How would you know if they have a phone or not? What you said about going out, I do that. I walk out and go, oh, I don't have my phone. I better get it. What if my kids try and get a hold of me? Or what if my car breaks down? Maybe none of those people by the roadside is going to call for me, so I better have this device, which I never needed before. Now it's like it only makes sense to carry it because we all rely on it so much. But the fact that we rely on it so much is the debilitating part of everything. Right. A crutch is good to get you somewhere when you can't walk, but if you don't need the crutch, you shouldn't keep using it.
Correct.
Absolutely.
We're the crutch is cemented to our hand and to our head now. We don't give it up.
It's freeing to go to the store without it. Honestly, it is. It was so nice. I was just like,
well, and then there's more to it because then you got the phone, then you got the power cord, then you got to looking for the power, where to go to get the power. I mean, it's a vicious cycle. And then where do you go to, be connected Wi-Fi or free Wi-Fi or, all these different things. So, I mean, it's a never-ending cycle.
Well, much scarier than all the things we've gained is really all the things we've lost. And I like what Scott said about critical thinking and the idea of educated guesses. People don't even they don't even know what that is because they don't put themselves out there. I'm going to look shit up. I love the old pay phones because I can make a collect call. Didn't need money to make a collect call. As a matter of fact, nobody had to pay for it because they would say, record your name. And I'd say, Mom, I'm at the skating rink. Come pick me up. And that's what the name would come out as. And they'd hang up and then they'd come get me.
Yeah.
The collect call.
Barry, what were you about to say, buddy?
I was going to say something Sandy said about her kids being stuck to their phones. I remember my chiropractor said is that that's going to become a new disease going forward. Is that the kids are going to end up with one, enlarged thumbs, but secondly, they're going to have an arch in their back, their neck that's going to be permanent because they've grown up that way, looking down all the time. And I've watched it so many times. I mean, I'm sure everyone has too. When you're driving around, where basically you got to watch what people are doing because sometimes people walk across the street that looking the fact that the signal hasn't changed because they're looking at their phone. So we have a what's the word? How I want to call this? A focus disorder, as in we're not looking where we're going, and that's a metaphor for a whole bunch of things too. But I think one of the benefits I think from the pandemic and the lockdown that happened was that a lot of people realized during the time they were locked down and being isolated that they missed people, and some people did actually make an effort after that. Not everybody did, but a lot of people made an effort to reach out to people to say, let's get together physically because we can now. Because after 2 years or whatever it was of not being allowed to, you're kind of like, oh, now I realize what I'm missing. And I think for some of us, as we grow, we may get to a habit, or people get to habits of being like stuck in a rut of doing things a certain way. But at some point in time, we end up looking back and going, hang on a second, I want to do something different, get back to what I was before, have what I had before as well. I was thinking about the phone numbers thing. I mean, I think every one of us can remember the phone number in the house we grew up in. That number never goes away. So we do have that in our memory, at least. But the thing about it, also technology, yes. I mean, as I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago about this, David Allen, the guy I've studied with many years ago, wrote the book Getting Things Done. It talks about you write things down to forget them. Well, he's definitely not a Gen Xer or a millennial. He's a boomer. But his teaching is that when you write things down, not necessarily in a phone, but now that's moved from paper to screen, his writing things down was a skill set, was a benefit to do something that was going to be really additive because we could let go of those things. So I believe in a lot of ways we can, again, hammer methodology, destructive, constructive. We can use our technology, computer screen, whatever it is, our phone, to be a device for good or a device for bad. But it comes down to, are we aware of what we're choosing with that device? That's really the question.
Well, that's what, if the old adage, if the only tool you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's about that time,
well,
Scott.
but I mean, it really is. There's a lot of good to the technology and all that. I'm not suggesting there's not, but I just think that there's also a lot of good to internalizing the knowledge and doing things. Yeah, okay, I'm a suspender and belt guy. Is there anything wrong with having a backup system, right? You know, I mean, and no, I don't wear both, by the way. But the
At the
point
same
is,
time, you mean?
I just
Yeah,
get a great picture in my head. That's
I
all.
know. Well, but I mean, think about it. It just,
It's just extra
how
support.
can we at this age level on the planet, how can we serve the planet is to encourage some of the foundational knowledge. I mean, it's interesting. I did a What Now Wisdom a couple of weeks ago, and I was talking about fundamentals or something like that. And a guy that I played football with for probably 10 years said, man, can you see what's going on these days? I said, yeah. How more guys aren't in the NFL aren't breaking their necks? I have no idea, because they're launching themselves like a missile. I said, what do you think Coach Richmond would have said to us? He goes, we'd still be running if we ever tackled anybody like that. It was all about fundamentals, right? And we've lost. There's a reason a building has a foundation, because if it doesn't have a foundation, it will topple over at some time. Well, life is very similar. If we don't teach foundation and foundational things, that's what critical learning is, or critical thought process is. It's foundational. It gives us the ability to discern, and hopefully discern well.
Absolutely. John, what do you think about this?
I'm telling you, I've never played football, just in case you all wanted to know that. I thought I'd throw
He
it.
was the announcer with those pipes. Come on.
We can tell by your lighting you never played football.
Friday Night Lights.
I swear to God, one day I'm going to come out here, I'm going to be lit like an angel, and you're all going to say, where is your football degree, John? No. You know, it really goes back to what we were talking about. It really is fundamentals. It really is back to basics that we've talked about, and I talk about on my sales team. If you didn't know, I do mortgages. Anyway, besides that.
Oh, I never knew.
What?
Thanks for asking, everybody. But, you know, you look at where you go with your children. I'm a grateful father of 6 kids. And, you know, you look at where you lay their fundamentals. You look at where they want to go. And 6 out of 6 are different. They're going to have 6 different things to do. You're going to talk to all your clients. But, man, when you talk to people one-on-one, and as we've talked about tonight, it's really going back to basics, whether it's AI, whether it's faxing someone, whether it's sending someone a message on their pager back in the 80s. You got to kind of incorporate one-on-one who you're dealing with. And you guys are the best with that, because there's such a variety of this. There's such a variety of people, you know, from Hollywood to Las Vegas to whatever. You know what? People are people. People want to deal with people like themselves. It's not rocket science, man. It really isn't. And once we get rid of the bullshit, and once we get rid of everything going on, people want to know, and people want to deal with people like themselves. I'm going back to football practice. Thank you for asking.
Well, I'm glad you told us you did mortgages.
I would add this.
I thought you were a mortician. I was close. Close.
It's kind of the same.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same, Scott.
No, I would add that what John encourages us all to do each week is to, you know, make a call or write a note, do something. Scooter did the same thing. You know, he talked about waiting 3 days so that he had the time to call and connect with someone, and you know, so there is that human touch and that human connection. The one thing that synagogues and temples and churches of any denomination have in common is you can create a shared vision among the community members there through an inspirational leader, or through an inspirational leader team, or through the fact that you all want to do good for some part of the community or for your own body or whatever. I mean, this can be taken to the extreme and abused, or it can be used to make community change at the very basic level. If we want society to change, then we have to have a vision for that society that we share with people in the society, and enough people to have it to be able to make it. You know, one person having that vision in a world of 8 billion people, it's going to be very difficult to change the world. But if more and more and more people go, you know, we need to connect, we need to love, we need to include, we need to accept, we need to allow, we need not lean so heavily on our differences and our technologies and the things that separate us or keep us apart, but use them to bring us together, and then And then what kind of world do we want to have 10, 15, 20 years from now, or 200 years from now? In order to live in that reality, we have to now see that reality to make that come about, or it'll come about however it comes about, because we didn't act. That's the old saying, for evil to prevail, it only requires that good people do nothing.
Right.
So if we don't have a plan for it, it'll be whatever it ends up being.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's right.
Absolutely.
So
That's
this
right.
is where this forum, this panel of people who come and go, or the regulars who are here, and other like this, if we all started to unite with a common vision of let's move the needle forward, let's become more understanding and compassionate and build things, we could get something done. As long as we sit here and go, I'm not going to do it because you're a different color, I'm not going to do it because you're a different party,
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it because you don't have the money I have.
Nothing gets done.
No.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? The beautiful thing is this panel exists because the technology exists for us to have this.
Yep.
So
Right.
there is a marriage to be done. Perhaps it's the way, again, like Barry said,
Yep.
how do we utilize it? Are we utilizing it to destroy? Are we utilizing it to build? Perhaps it's simply just the idea of, hey, it's great to have this beautiful light, but you know what? There's times when a candle is even more appropriate. And understanding some of the old ways are good too. So there's a lot going on here. We're going to do our kind of go around to wrap the show up now. But, again, all these thoughts are great. Nobody here saying anti-technology. Nobody's saying that. But what we don't want to do is lose humanity in place of technology, or have humanity replaced by that technology. Sandy, why don't you go ahead and kick us off on our wrap up here?
Okay. Well, I do miss the old days. I do. I was there for the first cable, like when cable first came in. I mean, that's, that was amazing.
Girl,
We
you
were
don't
like,
need
oh
to
my
go back
goodness,
that
cable
far.
TV, MTV.
You mean when
MTV
they
came
laid
on.
the transatlantic cable?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Is that telegraph?
Yes.
We
Yeah,
go all the
really.
way back to when MTV had music videos.
Yes.
That was a
Yes.
long
The
time
guy
ago.
that
1980.
the guy that was walking on the moon, if you believe that theory. Anyway, so
Oh, let's
the other
not go
thing.
there.
That's the other thing. And
Another
so
Topic
right.
for next week.
Yeah. Oh, God.
So I mean, I believed it then. But anyway, so that's the thing is as much as we go forward, I do feel like we go backwards in our relationship and in our connectivity sometimes. However, I want to point out, I met Lynn during the pandemic. I mean, I met her in that time, so I wouldn't have known her had it not been for technology. So, though I got lots of relationships at
In
that
person,
time. So
too.
there's the positive piece of it, that it's not all negative. And, like Rex pointed out, like Scott pointed out, it's how you use it, and I think you have to really put some boundaries on it, whatever your technology is. I'm learning AI because I see that in my workplace that's going to be utilized. So I have to, I've had to, I was with the first computers. I mean, I've had on my whole careers had to be keeping up in technology, because if you're not, you'll be left behind in your career path, depending on where you're at in that. So there's some necessity to that. And, I'm not old enough to retire, so I still have to learn this new stuff and, how everybody does everything. And I agree with Rex, it's all about how you control this instead of, it's all coming at you, but you still have control over your environment, over, how your energy is going out, what you're doing with it, and coming up with a plan, like you said, one person at a time. And I feel strongly about that always. Peace starts with me, doesn't start with anybody else. So
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sandy.
I love
Thank
that,
you.
Sandy. Thank you.
Who are you going to throw in there next, Lynn? Barry.
Okay. That's the thing. I'll say this, and I'll keep it brief. As we've talked about a lot, how things have changed over the years. We've gone from the old technologies, new technology, etc. My understanding, especially having watched a lot of it change over the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years, is that it's accelerating. So the bottom line is we're going to get on. We're not going to be stopping it. I would say that. So our only hope, our only choice, is to figure out how to use it in a way that's good. Again, positive and negative, but also how to remember how to have humanity and everything. The one thing I know very clearly about technology is is that all those tools like ChatGPT and all the other things we use, they don't have the human heart and emotion and caring involved unless we bring it to it. So my feeling is, as things evolve and change, the things that get better and better is where the human is involved, where we make a difference, where we add value. So I feel like our role is to be good stewards of this, to be wise users of it too. So as we do that, it becomes easier to do. That's why I love smartphones, because yes, I can FaceTime and call people I want to call. And it's good because I do it wherever I am. Whereas back in the old days, if I left the house, I couldn't call anybody. So that was the thing, is this adds value. But the question is, do we continue to keep adding value to our lives or not? So
excellent. John, brother.
Well, I just went light like beer. I guess what I pretty much figured out tonight what I want to do. But what we figured out, as we all know, it's common sense, man. Eventually, it's going to come back to the basics. And I know I talked about that 2 minutes ago. But when everything happens and you really pick up the phone and you have a phone conversation, that means a lot more to people. I got to tell you, I do 15 phone calls a day. And it just, people are like, why'd you call me? No one calls. I think if we go back to the basics and mesh it with what we have, it's going to be perfect.
John, I got to tell you,
you can't rely on one or the other. You got to have both.
I got to tell you, John, I love you. You break it down to the simple. You know what? You want something nice? Go be kind. You want to do the right thing? Then get up off your ass and make that phone call, or go see that person, or write that letter. I like how you just put it out there, because sometimes we overcomplicate shit. And we appreciate it. So your focus on the individual kindnesses, and I'm glad somebody's out there doing that. So you're a good man, John. You're a good man.
And I love you said that, because a lot of people are using their smartphones to Google everything and play games and be on Facebook, and they forget to take that damn phone and make a simple phone call. So I'm glad he did the simple thing, is to remind people to call people.
I'm a simple guy, apparently, as you can tell.
So thanks for the simple reminder.
Tune in next week when we start our fundraising to get better lighting in John's cave.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll take the collection up.
Oh, and look, he's telling us we're number one.
Yeah, exactly. I know.
Love you, John.
Love you, John.
Well, I agree with what Rex was saying earlier with we have the ability to control human kindness and take and coordinate these things between what happened in the past and what's happening now and will be happening in the future. And what popped in my head as he was saying that was Malcolm Gladwell's book, The Tipping Point. We might have 8.4 billion people on the planet, but the tipping point is only 1.4 billion. We don't have to get all 8.4 billion going in the same direction, but we need to get 1.4 billion or more going in the same direction to then create that tipping point. And the planet is worth saving. The people on the planet are worth saving. All of it is worth investing. The hard-earned knowledge, time, dedication that everybody's put into whatever point they're at, to work to encourage others, lift up others, educate others, help others. And, it's so funny. I mean, I had somebody say the other day, you don't use enough millennial words. Oh, no, fire, dude. Let's keep it hundo here. Okay. So, really, that's going to seem very sincere. It's stop trying to make everybody into one thing. Let people be who they are and what they are, and value that, and let's share that through the world.
I think groovy's still a perfectly fine word, man. I love groovy and neato. I love it.
Absolutely, dude.
Yeah, there you go. Rex, take us home, brother.
What I do, what each of us do here, I don't think it's changed since the first person started talking on the planet and conveying messages. The only difference is our ability to reach more people. The platforms change. One time we spoke, then we spoke with a megaphone, and then we spoke with a microphone. Now we speak with Zoom, around the world. Things change, and we can adapt to that. But what shouldn't change is the heart-to-heart connection, the face-to-face ability to communicate, to listen, and to understand, and to touch another person. I write books, and I speak a lot, and I've got countless thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of audio and video and things like that. Would I like AI to edit that stuff? Sure. Would I like it to grammar check and spell check and punctuation check and all that kind of stuff? Sure. But I don't want it generating my content, and I don't want to be publishing books after I'm dead because something can take my works and clone stuff to it. I will be gone. People can look at my work as all of our works, but new people need to rise and come up and have their voices heard, not just perpetuate somebody that, I don't want to hear from Moses now,
Yeah, because you can't ask him questions.
Well, Moses AI, you could.
Well, but I could ask the AI questions of Moses, but I couldn't ask Moses questions. And
Exactly.
I don't care to have the simulation be almost as good or better than the original. I want the original. I don't want, fake Oreos.
Yeah,
that's right.
Exactly.
No.
Exactly.
So, that's why we didn't like New Coke.
Right.
That's right.
So,
It's too sweet.
Look, we're all in it together. Let's just remain. It's about transmission. We talk about transformation, but people forget that it's about transmission. Parents transmit to their children transmit to their children. We connect with each other. We transmit our vibes, our feelings, our thoughts, our sensations to each other back and forth. Let's keep that going. The fact that there can be artificial intelligence to help paralyzed people, walk or move again, fantastic. All right.
Yep.
And so the good will be there. Let's just stay connected the way that John or that Scott or that Barry or Sandy or both Scotts and Linda, how we do it. And that is stay human.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right. And, use of technology doesn't have to eliminate the human factor, because as we see here, we've been doing this together for quite a while now. Some of you every week, some of you every once in a while, and it's always good to see you. But it's not just a face on a screen. We connect with each other. We generally build a liking for each other. We wouldn't keep coming back if we didn't. And we respect each other. And those are all human things that computers can't replace. The respect and the like and the love and the importance of people. So keep that stuff going, and we can marry these things together just like we do here. And a reminder, please remember to share this with your friends and get this show out there. Leave comments, even if you're watching a recording, because we'll see the comments, and it's important to us to know what you guys think. And Lynn, as always, you're the babe.
I'm going to say I could go for one of those, Scott.
One of those what?
Eliminate. A nice cold lemonade.
Oh, okay.
Well, we're 4 minutes over time, so we're out of here.
Okay.
Okay, love you
All
guys.
right. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Keeping me safe inside.